Shravanam Diaries podcast.
Reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 9, The Most Confidential Knowledge. Text 7. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpadao Visrijamyaham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Purport. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. Quote, at the end of the millennium, unquote, means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years, and his one day is calculated at 4,300,000,000 of our earthly years. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. Then again, when there is a need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Bahusyam. Quote, although I am one, I shall become many. Although I am one, I shall become many. Unquote. This is the Vedic aphorism, Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3. He expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. Text 8. Prakritim svamavashtabhya visrijami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritei vashat. The cold cosmic order. No. I've got cold little bits. The whole cosmic order is under me, under my will. It is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Purport. This material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahatattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. Wow. What? Okay, yeah, makes sense. First, the Mahatattva appears, and then Mahavishnu enters that. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately, along with the universe. Man, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by His will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of God. And after creating different species of life, He has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. Again, this very important point that the Lord gives us the facilities, but it's up to us to be involved in them as much as we allow ourselves, or as much as we indulge ourselves. But the Lord is not involved, unless we try to pray and try to get Him involved. Then He's involved. Okay, text 9. Na cha mamtani karmani nibadhananti dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmashu. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. Purport. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. In His spiritual world, He is always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita 5.6, it is stated, Atma ramasya tasyasti prakrityana samagamah. Quote, He is always involved in His eternal, blissful, spiritual activities, but He has nothing to do with these material activities. Unquote. Material activities are being carried on by His different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is mentioned here with the word udasinavat. Although He has control over every minute detail of material activities, He is sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put to jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth. But still, He is neutral. He has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Actually, as far as I've seen myself meeting people in my span of lifetime, I've never heard people addressing God as the judge, except for my daddy, my grandmother. My daddy would always say, God is the judge. God is the judge, And especially when there would be some controversies, and if there would be something bad happening to her, she would rarely go into confrontations, but she would just be like, God is the judge, It's very... And actually Prabhupada gives this example that the Lord is sitting as if neutral, even though he's the one that's making decisions, and this is exactly like a high court judge, right? So he has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. So again, coming back to our mind-blowing, earth-shattering and peace making statement from Brahminical culture and ethics, that God is always just and God is not unkind, which basically means that the Lord is merciful and kind, and he is the best judge. Because who can apply that justice? It's the judge, right? And Prabhupada says God is the judge. So if we consider God to be a very bad judge, I think we're making a big mistake. And according to common sense, he knows what's going on, and he knows whom to put to jail, whom to award wealth, and whom to be hanged. Was that English correct grammatically? Anyway, you got my point. Reading further. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.1.34, it is stated, Vaishamya Nairgrinyena. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities, nor is he attached to the creation and the I actually want to say something, but okay, let me say it before we go further. Many times devotees, they speak a lot about karma. They're like, karma this, karma that. Like I was talking, I don't know if I mentioned it in the podcast, but I mentioned it to Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, that sometimes, a trauma is defined not by something that happened to you, but by something that didn't happen for you when it was supposed to happen. And the example that I gave, that I think one psychotherapist, he quotes, he says that, say, somebody has a glass of water, and I'm very, very thirsty, and instead of, and I'm asking, can you please give me a glass of water? And that person is like, where is your bottle? And he keeps drinking, in front of you. He's like, you don't have a bottle of water? Wow, you have such bad karma. And then keeps drinking, He's like, yeah, that's too bad. Meaning, like, you have to suffer for your past sinful activities. This is our philosophy. So, yeah, I mean, I have a bottle, and it's full right now, but yeah, I mean, it's not my responsibility, or like, nobody told me to give you a glass of water, so you can die of thirst or quench your thirst someplace else, and then keep drinking. So in this scenario, when one person is going through the state of lack of basic survival need of quenching the thirst, and then the person right next to him, he has the water, it would not, I mean, we have stories where the kings, they would give parts of their body to save pigeons because they were so charitable, and if you have 1 liter of water, you may as well give a little bit of water to another person. So, and then saying that, oh, it's your karma then, and I've heard it many times in my situation, actually. Say I was going through a very, very hard, tremendously painful period in my life about 7 years ago, and many people, they would always, it's very easy, I even wrote a song about it, that it's very easy to say something, you just say stuff, and then it's like, speaking is like the best form of maintaining relationships, isn't it? You just say, it's your karma, relax. But if we constantly blame karma for everything, then we don't realize that God is the judge, ultimately. There is a hand of God in everything that happens to us. There is. And you can't say that, yes, I'm a devotee of Krishna, but Krishna is in Galoka Vrindavana, he doesn't have time for me. Only karma has time for me, right? No, Krishna is in your heart. In fact, he is the judge. He has his hand in everything. He is neutral if you are not surrendering to him. He is neutral. If you are not praying to him, if you're not talking to him, if you're not begging him to help you, he is neutral. But he is very, very just, because he is the best judge. He is the original judge. If you know, like, there are some true crime, like, video recordings, and, the judges, they're like, looking at the cases of the people, and then they make some decision, and everybody's like, yeah, like, he deserved it. This is an awesome judge. No, Krishna is an awesome judge. And we may not see how it manifests, but it will manifest as far as we surrender. That kind of. So yeah, why was I saying that? I was saying that in connection to karma and Krishna being the judge. That, okay, it may not be my karma that right now I'm dying of thirst, but you are standing right next to me, and if you, like, out of your causeless mercy, you can give me some water. You can't say that, you see, like, this basic human interactions, or somebody passed away. Actually, there was a whole seminar. Why am I even talking about it? There's a whole seminar given by Vrajendra Kumar Prabhu. It's a one Russian preacher. And he spoke about, because in Soviet Union, when Krishna consciousness was booming and blooming, unfortunately, as a side effect, some fanaticism also creeped in. And many times, like, somebody would pass away, and devotees would immediately say, Bhagavad Gita says, wise people don't lament neither for the living nor for the dead. And it's like, or it's his karma. We can be very insensitive when we depersonalize basically material world in this connection. What is karma? We don't even say Durga Devi, even though she's the one in charge of the material nature, right? We don't even say that much. Mahamaya, at least say Mahamaya. But no, it's karma. And karma became the word which now everybody uses. There's a new song sang by Taylor Swift about karma. When she says, karma is my boyfriend, karma is a god. And I'm like, yes, almost there. Yeah, just little bit to technical details absent, but yeah, so God is the judge. And actually, I don't know, maybe I heard it so many times from my grandmother that it just engraved in me very, very deeply. Because she would always say it in the sense that, she was a person who worked very hard her whole life to maintain her only child, my dad. She never got remarried because she considered that first husband is the husband, second husband is not a husband. She was very, very traditional in that way. And at one point, all of her, all of her accumulated wealth has been kind of taken away from her, and she would constantly say, God is the judge, God is the judge. But then when she met my god sister, I want to say Prema Chandrika, but her name is Chandrika, she started chanting Hare Krishna, and she was reading Prabhupada's books, and she went to another level. Like, that kind of God is the judge mood transformed into, like, something more and more personal. Like something that God is very sweet, God is very wonderful, God is naughty, God is, and she would constantly chant Hare Krishna. So, yeah, it's nice to understand that God is the judge, or that karma is a god. It's like, it's a wonderful step forward. but there is a long road to go where we're going in the next verse. Okay. I mean, of course, I'm talking too much just because I want to understand these points myself. So, he has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.1.34, it is stated, Vaishamya Nairgrinye Cha. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities. Nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord does not interfere with them. Wow. See, this is the thing. In the previous verse, it says the Lord does not become involved with it. It says that the creation takes place to accommodate inclinations. Whatever you are inclined toward, the Lord does not become involved. And in the next verse, just next verse, it's established that living entities take different forms and species according to their past deeds, and the Lord does not interfere. He does not get involved. He does not interfere. It is us who are coming into this creation to accommodate our inclination, and it is us who take different forms in accordance to our past deeds. Now, I know it's already 21 minutes, but the next verse is very, very, very important because it kind of like also concludes with that chain of understanding the Lord's position in this material world for everybody. Not just for those who already know they're devotees of the Lord. For everybody. The Lord does not become involved. The Lord does not interfere. And what else? Let's read this verse. Next verse. And this next verse is actually the verse which is, like when I was reading 7th canto, I clearly remember I was studying I was continuing finally. I came back to Bhaktivedanta Maharaj's classes at theological seminaries, and they already shifted to the girls' Gurukula, for their campus was there already, and there we studied 7th, 8th and 9th cantos, right? So the way the course is structured, you have to read Prabhupada's books, then you have to read the study guide, then you have to listen to Maharaj, and then you have to write the essays. So 7th canto I was reading in the library at Mayapur Academy. I was coming there like almost every day, and I was reading 7th canto. And it was surprising that, I don't remember which chapter, but in one of the chapters where Prahlad Maharaj is described, or was it the Nrisimha pastime, every single commentary, you can check it for yourself, almost every second commentary, this particular verse is quoted. And I didn't memorize this verse on purpose. I just memorized it because I've read it so many times when I was reading the 3rd canto. What does it mean? Repetition means emphasis. Emphasis. So it's very important. The next verse. Are you ready? I know you're always ready. Okay. Text 10. So this is 9th chapter, text 10. Maya dyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So Maya Dyakshena Prakriti, Akshena, Adyakshena, by superintendents. Translation: this material nature, we already purport. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all activities of the material world, remains the supreme director. the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation. So, Supreme Will, right? Supreme Director, and the background of this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by material nature. So I remember I was writing a Bhakti Shastri essay on this point, and I was mentioning that the Lord is the supreme director and producer of the show, and the material nature is like executive producer. It's like, okay. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all the different entities, of all the different living entities in different forms and species, quote, I am the Father. So Krishna is the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child. And similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature. And they come out in their different forms and species, according to their lusts, desires, and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So, deeds and desires are your own. You can't take a gun, shoot another person, and say, it's God who did it. That means that you're an ignorant murderer, because God doesn't do such stuff, right? God doesn't interfere and God doesn't become involved, but He will judge you for that. So our deeds and desires create our bodies, what you do and what you desire. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created simultaneously. Oh, excuse me. Everything is... when I'm too excited, I just go into some lose focus. Okay, now I'm focused. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. He just glances. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person. Yet, the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature, without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot do anything. Yet, the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. This is the point. He is detached from all material activities, but he is glancing. He is looking. He's glancing, and just by mere glance, everything is going on, right? So, today we established that the Lord does not become involved with the material creation. He has no connection with the material creation. It is done by His will to accommodate our inclinations. Next, the living entities, we take forms in different species of life because of our past deeds, and the Lord does not interfere. Now, and final is that He creates by His glance and ordains. And without His superintendence, material nature can't do anything. But the Lord is detached from all material deeds. He's detached. Although he remains the supreme director, the supreme and the background, the will, the director, and the background of the material activities. Jai, yeah. I mean, look, Bhagavad Gita is a serious book to study. So unless I feel that this topic, it has to be done. I mean, it's a self-study, first of all. This podcast is a self-study. So I know that for some listeners, it may be a little too much, 30 minutes per episode instead of 15. But ultimately, the podcast was not created to cater. It was created to study. So bear with me. And tomorrow we shall read the next verse. This is where I love the sequence that Krishna gives. He first of all establishes his supreme authority, right? But then he immediately goes into a personal space because he is the one speaking in Bhagavad Gita. So immediately next verse he will say, Avajananti mam mudha. He will say, fools deride me. Imagine, Krishna is saying, I am the Lord of all that survey, I am the superintendent, I am the judge, I am the supreme director, I am the background, I am the father, I am glancing and the material nature is moving. And then he's like, but foolish people, they're laughing at me. I mean, what is this, right? Well, okay, we'll read tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.